Welcome back to Younger MMA. So I posted about this topic twice before. This will be the third video, and I got a really positive response. I got a handful of comments there where it seemed that this was interesting to some people at least. So I kind of want to actually go deeper into this and really explain what I really think about all this. Before I do, I just want to emphasize so technically, I'm talking about a certain video game in this video. If you've never played that game, and if you don't give a crap about video games at all, you're still going to understand everything I'm saying in this video, because we're not going deep into, information about that game or anything like that. What this is really about, and I do recommend kind of the part 1 and part 2 to this. So the first one is the video called "Is Elder Scrolls About Gnosticism?" You scroll down, it's not too long ago, you'll find it. The second video is Elder Scrolls Spirituality. And that one is part of this series that I'm calling Your Guide Through the Dystopia. And the reason I called it that, I think it's self-explanatory. So it's a guide to find peace in the world that we live in now. So let me get into why this is an important topic, or why it's valid at all. So like I was saying, even if you don't know anything about Elder Scrolls, you'll still like this. I think there's something for everyone here. So if you study what you would call like messages in entertainment, so it could be movies, it could be, books, whatever. There's usually like an agenda or a message that's being pushed. Maybe not all the time, but it happens a lot. So some of this can be bad. And so if I keep looking over here, it's because I have notes. It's like the first time I've had like a ton of notes for a video, so bear with me. Sometimes this is bad, the messaging, because it can be predictive programming. It can be used for negative outcomes. Then there's times where it's probably someone that has good intentions. So a good example would be The Matrix. Also, The Truman Show. There seems to be messages that are hard to really understand because it's all symbolism. So it's all kind of like in riddles. So recently I was playing Elder Scrolls Oblivion because the remastered came out back in the spring. So it's a game that came out really 20 years ago, and pretty old game at this point. They remastered the graphics and they re-released it. And I think the timing is relevant because when that game first came out, this wasn't a huge topic. Now it is, basically. So when I looked into the lore on a deeper level about the game, within the game, because I started to get these vibes that there was kind of a message. And so I started looking into the lore. I wanted to get straight to the point, so I wanted to look up the creation story. Because it's hard to pick up on the lore just playing the game. It's a free roam game, and there's a lot to it, so you're not going to learn everything just playing the game. You're going to have to look some things up. So I found out what the creation story is for that world. So it's similar to how Tolkien created Middle-earth. So when Tolkien wrote The Lord of the Rings, he created his own world. There's languages, everything. It's next level, right? So now imagine a team of like 10 Tolkiens making a video game. That's kind of what we're talking about here. So within the game, stick with me because everything I'm talking about now is just the lore of the game. So we're not talking real life or anything. Within the game, the creation story is like this. There's an entity called Lorcan. And Lorcan convinces what are called the Aedra and the Daedra to merge themselves into almost like a simulation that he's creating. So he's creating like this world. It's like a dream world, but he needs them to sacrifice their immortality and kind of like what they are in order to become the spine of like the reality. Okay, so it's like a very Gnostic creation story because it's like a tragedy about the Aedra sacrificing themselves kind of to be the creation that mankind lives inside of, if you can follow that. And Gnosticism is slightly different. It kind of varies, but Gnosticism basically is like there's this creation of this world where Sophia, the goddess, like sacrificed herself to become part of it, and that's like what our divine spark is like Sophia, and that this world is Sophia, like nature and everything is her. So it's similar to that, because the Aedra were like outside of this simulation, and Lorcan got them to agree to help him make it, but he tricked them. That's why it's a tragedy, because they didn't know that they were giving up, you know, their powers or their autonomy to kind of sacrifice themselves to make this thing. They didn't quite understand that. So when they agreed to it, they got trapped, essentially. So that's their creation story. Now this world that they live in, one second. This world that they lived in is described as Mundus, M-U-N-D-U-S. And Mundus is not just a place, like a physical location. It's a state of being, and it's like a dream-like state. So it's a collective dream. But one can achieve lucidity within the dream, and that is called Chim, C-H-I-M. That's like enlightenment. So that's like what happens to your character in the game, because it's a free realm RPG game. So you're using your free will to do whatever you want. Okay? But you gotta understand, every Elder Scrolls game starts off in the dungeons, and the tutorial is breaking free of the dungeons. And so becoming lucid in the dream starts off with unshackling yourself. This is why I compare it to like the Matrix and stuff, because it seems to be saying that there's unconscious programming that you have to break free from in order to become lucid within the dream and not be an NPC and go on these random quests and go on adventures. Okay, so stick with me there. Okay, so reaching Chim and becoming lucid in the dream, I've kind of investigating the lore and using AI, to be honest. I've kind of crunched up what can be found in the lore about the process of reaching Chim. Okay, so in the lore, this is like the process of reaching enlightenment or something. And I broke it down into seven steps. Let me move this light. So in the beginning, there's sleepwalking. So that is when you are like an NPC. Step 2 is the shattering of the illusion. So that's kind of like in Oblivion Remastered, if you're playing that. In the beginning, where the shit hits the fan and you break out of jail and everything happens really fast, like that is the shattering of the illusion. So that is like, breaks you out of your previous worldview into a new one. Step 3 is the walkabout. So you're kind of walking around with your new state of being and your new abilities, testing the waters. So that's like right after the tutorial, you're beginning to learn how to play the game. So you're beginning to learn that there is a better way to play the game than what you have been playing. And you also are realizing that there really is such thing as like a superior way. So we're talking about playing a game, but really we're talking about life. So there is a superior way to approach things, to get, you know, what you want from life, but not in like an egoic way, but to really go on an adventure and find fulfillment, right? So anyway, so that's step 3, the walkabout, testing this new existence. Step 4 is where you start to realize basically that you're in a dream. So that's like, you're almost going crazy, like you're risking, in the lore, they refer to it as zero sum. So when you reach this point, you're risking going zero sum, which means you lose your identity. So you realize that this is all a dream, and you get kind of just swept away by that, and you lose your sense of individuality, and you go crazy. Okay, so like some people now call that spiritual psychosis. Just go on YouTube and type in spiritual psychosis. So you risk going zero sum. You realize that this life is a dream. Now, if you don't get absorbed into the abyss, then you enter basically a stage of becoming the writer of the story. So you start to literally write your own story. Like life is a story itself, and you start to write out like your own little series, your own little part of this thing. And then the final stage is kind of embracing that you're in a dream and embracing your role in it, even with its flaws, and even embracing mortality. So even the fact that it's all going to end and you're going to die. So embracing the fact that you're a character in this story and living it to the fullest. And that's like, as I broke it down, that's like the highest level of like Chim. So it goes in phases. Now, why this is interesting to me and why this is my third video about it, and in my opinion, why it resonated with people and I got a handful of positive comments, is because this obviously all sounds like it could be taught in real life. Like if you were teaching someone spirituality in real life and you went by all this, it would sound pretty solid, right? And one of the main themes in Oblivion is cults. Really in all the other scrolls there's cults, but in Oblivion, the main antagonist is a cult trying to end the world. They're called the Golden Dawn. And they believe that they've got it all figured out. The leader of the group, he wrote these books and he understands what reality is and what needs to happen and all these things. And they claim that it's like you get secret knowledge. So this is the kind of cult that would say, you have to do all this stuff to get initiated, but that's the only way to get the knowledge. Well, I think this game is trying to tell us something about a concept called natural initiation. I'm trying not to repeat the old videos too much, so bear with me. Even if you've seen those videos, trust me, this is going somewhere. The concept of natural initiation, to keep it short, is where instead of getting initiated by a cult, by other humans, you are initiated into higher knowledge and knowledge of how reality really works, but by things that just happen. And so it's orchestrated by God, it's destiny. And when it happens, it wakes you up and then you are initiated into having this kind of knowledge. So that's the completely opposite path of joining the cult. Because joining the cult, you are giving your sovereignty away and saying, well, the only way I can get these understandings is to get it imparted to me from these people. And once you've done that, you kind of forfeit your ability to really be like your own character in the story. So there's the natural initiated through natural ordeal. So things that just happen and they change your worldview and they wake you up, right? In awakening. And then there's being initiated into cults. And so again, being initiated just means understanding the nature of reality and that it is a dream and the way the dream works. And becoming a natural initiate does free you from the dungeons, so to speak, as to where joining a cult is kind of just another dungeon. So the path to initiation independently is just working on yourself. So that's the things that I talk about in the series that's called Guide Through a Dystopia. This series, that's what it's really all about, is the path of the natural initiate. So getting the higher knowledge on your own, because it's really between you and God. No one is supposed to influence that, in my opinion. One second, we'll look through my notes. Yeah, so, and the way that I broke the process down into steps, if you read into mysticism, there are beliefs that the same way that there's rituals that these cults will do to initiate you in all these different kinds of rites they have, things will play out in your real life. So a lot of people that are kind of the natural initiates into mysticism, things will play out in a certain order. So first they have some kind of rebirth by the element of earth. And so that could be described as like labor, outside, very physical things, being grounded, because the first thing you have to do to basically keep your soul in your body is to be grounded, if that makes sense. So then after earth, then it's water. Now water is a big one because in a lot of literature, you'll see that the protagonist is different after an encounter with water. So in Lord of the Rings, when they cross the river, one of the first things that happen in The Hobbit is that Bilbo Baggins falls into a river and his bags get swept away. So all of his things that are tied to the past, the home that he left behind, it all gets washed away by the water. And when he gets out of the river, he now has none of those things. And he has to, keep going. It's either go home or keep going. 1 second. And so that's, rebirth by water. Then after that, it would be air. Now, air is very symbolic because air is associated with the word of God and the spirit of God and messages from God even. And then there would be fire. And I'm pretty sure that they say fire is when you've gone through the first three and you're refined into basically, once you're like lucid in this dream, like you are like fire, if that makes sense. This is, like I said, just according to different literature in like mysticism and stuff. They say that there is a certain order that it goes in. Just like how if you're going to join a cult, the rituals are very like organized, like they have to be done a certain way in a certain order. So they happen that way naturally. And there's no one orchestrating it except for God. And you won't know until after. Years later, you'll understand. That's the difference. So cults are basically a cheap imitation of the real thing, essentially. That's why they say, in my opinion, this is why they say everything is within, because your relationship to God is between you and God. So you don't really need someone to give you more information. All right, let me look through these notes. Okay, so this next part I found really, really interesting. So if you've ever played Oblivion, you know that the soundtrack is really good. But it's not just good, it's like, has a weird energy to it. Like, I've showed it to people before, and one person used the word magical. They were like, yeah, this music is like, has some kind of magical energy to it. Well, I wanted to look into it because I had a feeling there was something there related to what I've been talking about. So the artist's name is Jeremy Soule. He's the one that composed the music. And I tried to look into his inspiration for the music, if he said anything about it. And lo and behold, he said the inspiration for the music was a near-death experience. So he was in a car crash, and he said that as he was like rolling in his car, that time slowed down. And that he realized, how precious life is and all this stuff. So that's what the music is about, just so you know. I thought that was pretty crazy, actually. It really adds a lot to this whole thing I'm discovering. So, oh yeah, and here are the ones that I recommend if you want to hear the magical energy I'm talking about, because some of the soundtrack is like for different parts of the game. The ones I recommend are Harvest and Dawn. These are the names of the tracks. Watchman's Ease, Glory of Cyrodiil, Minstrel's Lament, Sunrise of Flutes, and Dusk at Market. Those are the ones that I would listen to if I were you. So now I'm going to give you my theory. This is pure speculation, but I almost feel like releasing the remastered, I'm sure there's a lot of practical reasons for it. So, this is just a thought I had. But what if it was partly because they know that now people talk about these things a lot more. So like mysticism and Gnosticism and whatnot, it's a lot more prevalent now, and it's pretty normal to talk about these things. But when the game was first released 20 years ago, that was not the case. And so part of me wonders if someone wanted to release it because they thought that we were ready, like we would pick up on those things. Like we wouldn't before, but now a lot of people would. And maybe they did it intentionally to kind of put it in front of people and be like, hey, look at this, Just a thought I had. All right, so before this last part, I just want to say, I know that this world can seem, this series is called Guide Through a Dystopia, and I know it can be really boring out here. But you have to look at these things like a lot of the people that believe in these things, they're not just idiots. Like I mentioned this in the last video about this topic. People like Carl Jung, a lot of successful, intelligent people, Nikola Tesla, they had these beliefs about reality. So you need to understand, like, when I'm sitting here telling you that there's hope and that you can change your life, that's not some like woo-woo mystical stuff. Like, some really serious people believe this. So some really serious, accomplished people believe that this reality is malleable, like a dream, that you can make what you want out of it. Now, if you want my take on that, I think that a lot of this stuff that makes it sound like a shortcut. So like when people characterize the law of attraction and manifestation a certain way, it's usually inaccurate, but that doesn't mean that there's nothing to those ideas. If people misrepresent them and make it sound easier than it is to sell you false hope, that's that person. But the ideas are based on something that's real. There's rules to this thing that we live in. And if you invest your energy in the right directions, you can change your life. So I just wanted to put that in there. I'm going to finish with this. One of the things that led me down this rabbit hole was that in Oblivion, every time you level up, the level up screen that pops up, it has a message for you and it changes every time. And I just want to read these messages, and I just want y'all to interpret it however you want, actually. I don't want to influence how y'all feel about it. So like I said, these are the level up messages. Every time you reach a new level in Oblivion, these pop up at the top of the screen. A lot of people do not see them, by the way. It's a different message every time. A lot of people play this game and have never seen them. I didn't notice really until kind of recently. So when you reach level 2, it says, you realize that all your life you've been coasting along as if you were in a dream, but suddenly after facing the trials of the past few days, you have come alive. When you reach level 3, it says, you realize that you are catching on to the secret of success. It's just a matter of concentration. Level 4, you've done things the hard way, but without taking risk, taking responsibility for failure. How could you have understood? Level 5, everything you do is just a bit more instinctive, more satisfying. It's as though you have suddenly developed keen senses and instincts. Level 6, you've learned a lot about Cyrodiil and yourself. It's hard to believe how ignorant you were, but you still have so much more to learn. Level 7, you resolve to continue pushing yourself. Perhaps there's more to you than you thought. Level 8, the secret does not seem to be hard work, yes, but also a kind of blind passion and inspiration. Level 9, so that's how it works. You plod along one foot in front of the other, and you look up and suddenly there you are, right where you wanted to be all along. Level 10, you woke up today with a new sense of purpose, no longer afraid of failure. Failure now is just an opportunity to learn something new. Level 11, being smart doesn't hurt. A little luck is nice, but the key is patience and hard work. Level 12, you can't believe how easy it is. You just have to go a little crazy, and then it all makes sense. Everything you do turns to gold. It's getting interesting, right? Level 13, it's the most amazing thing. Yesterday it was hard, and today it's easy. Just a good night's sleep, and yesterday's mysteries are today's masteries. Now I'm just going to start saying them without the level. You can look these up. Today you wake up full of energy and ideas, and you know somehow that overnight everything has changed. What a difference a day makes. Now you must stay at your peak as long as you can. There's no one stronger in Tamriel, but there's always someone younger and a new challenger. You've been trying too hard, thinking too much. Relax, trust your instincts, and just be yourself. Do the little things, and the big things take care of themselves. Life isn't over, and you still get smarter, cleverer, or more experienced, or meaner, but your body and soul won't get any younger. with the life you've been living, the punishment your body has taken, there are limits, and maybe you've reached them. Is this what it's like to grow old? You were really good, maybe the best, and that's why it's so hard to get better now. But you just keep trying because that's just who you are. By Superman effort, you can avoid slipping backwards for a while. One day you'll lose a step, or drop a beat, or miss a detail, and you'll be gone forever. Shit. The results of hard work and dedication always look like good luck, but you know you've earned every ounce of your success. And that's the last level that they leave a message for. So yeah, take from that what you will. This is the kind of thing that I think is better left up for interpretation. So I was trying not to influence kind of the way that y'all see those messages too much. So let me know in the comments. There's all kinds of things I missed because this is a deep subject. So anything I missed that you know about, let me know in the comments. I'm curious, and let me know what you think. Appreciate you guys. Bye.